It's great to finally meet you.
Thank you.
This brand new album, Younger Now, your most personal record to date, in my opinion. Definitely, you wrote all the words. The pictures are coming from a personal place, the artwork, the guests, Dolly Parton, your godmother's on the record. I mean, you're opening yourself up on this.
Yep. And I think just with this writing process, for me, it's been a really different experience because I've never even put an album out this way. As you know, we're a little bit crazy today because I am, at this point, I wrote the record kind of while it was coming out, if that makes sense. So I was still, when Malibu was coming out, I was still working on the rest of the record and promising an album like, everybody, my album's coming out later this year. I've only got like 6 songs on it.
So why did you want to rush Malibu? I mean, apart from the fact it's a beautiful start.
It was the perfect timing for me. I grow and evolve and change like very quickly. So I always want to put the music out before I hate it. I hate it. It's like, you got to put it out while I still live in Malibu, because I'm spending most of my time in Nashville now. And that's what happens when I take too much time on a record. It's like, well, you're singing about Malibu, but you don't even live there anymore.
So why'd you move back to Nashville?
I need to be with my roots. I'm from Nashville. It's born and raised. And it's kind of like, I don't know, you meet a lot of people that live in Nashville. You don't meet a lot of people that are from Nashville. Because right now it's like it's back on fire. That passion for music has lit the city back up. And when I was younger growing up in Nashville, music, the music city part was dead. A lot of people had no jobs. A lot of the dream had been dimmed, and I think the light of the city had definitely dulled out, and now it is just so lively again. It's got such an amazing energy, and I think the passion for making great music, not just making music, but making music that means something and that tells a story, is just so like the abundance of writers and talent and musicians and like all these amazing things that just keep me so inspired. So I find myself to be the most inspired there. But when I'm not at home in Nashville, I am in Malibu and I'm with my 2 pigs. I have no pigs yet in Nashville. So it is very weird that I am pigless on the farm. Yeah. But I have crammed.
You're trying to lull me into some kind of stereotype joke here, and I'm not going to buy it. I'm not buying it.
I have crammed 2 pigs into Malibu with 2 mini horses, 7 dogs, 2 cats. We've got the whole farm in Malibu, and I don't have a farm in Nashville yet.
It sounds idyllic in Malibu, and I think that the wide open sky plays a big role on this record. Not just from the first song and the first video, but also the feel of the record, the opening of the record. The opening line of the record is, and I paraphrase badly, so please excuse me.
That's okay. You can make something up.
Something like, I'll do my best to stay to the script. Something along the lines of, I feel like I've just woken up.
Yeah.
When did you wake up? When did that feeling happen?
That line for me is about, I feel like I just woke up. Like all this time I've been asleep. The next part is, even though it's not who I am, I'm not afraid of who I used to be. So it's saying all the things that I've been before make me who I am and who I'm going to be. And so not being embarrassed or ashamed of ever who you've been. Because I think a lot of people, just a lot of younger people too, I think of my generation, like what we've been brought up believing and what we believe can be different. I think everyone does that with their parents.
But you live in process. You've grown up in process. Like, we've been watching you live this life in process. The first thing I was going to say to you was, when we met, was what a life. Like, what a life.
Yeah.
To date.
Yeah. Like, especially with this record, people have been asking me, like, this is kind of like a reintroduction of yourself, introducing the new me. And that's like not it at all. It's actually, this me is a person that really embraces all the past myself as well, because they're creating tomorrow's me is that way because of whatever I've learned or been through today. Everything that I'm going to say and do today is affecting my tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then that's going to make the person that I'll be 10 years from now, 20 years from now, is all these little days. And so I guess for me, I've just had a really different experience because everyone's watched me go day from day from day, So I think people have this a little bit more of I think people used to feel they had more of that ownership of, but she's our little thing that we grew up loving and listening to. And it's like, that's absolutely what gives me the creative freedom that I have today, is that loyalty of the fans that did grow up with me. But they've grown up with me. They've grown up too.
But you made a pretty decent statement with Bangers. I mean, that was a moment. I think up to Bangers, sure, it felt like you were still kind of coming out of the tail end of being.
And I was. Yeah. I had only been wrapped a year and a half. Yeah, I was.
It's crazy.
I was. When I was making Bangers, I had just wrapped my show a year and a half prior. So yeah, absolutely. And, and so I, for once, was, I was 19 and finally could go out because I didn't have work the next day for one time in my life. You know, when I was 12 years old, I didn't have sleepovers because I had work the next day. That's not normal. Going out and having fun and experiencing life, that is normal. So what I was doing, or what I am doing, that's so outrageous is so much more age appropriate than, no, I can't go out with my friends to the Juicy J show tonight because I have to work tomorrow.
So you were being honest with yourself, and you were telling us exactly who you were at that moment in your life, regardless of what you'd been through up to that point.
Yeah.
Were you present enough in the moment when you were making that record, before we scoot ahead, because we're talking about it, to realize that you were setting yourself up for freedom? That ultimately, whether Bangers succeeded or failed, and ultimately it succeeded,
yes,
that you were setting yourself up for to be able to make Dead Pets and do what the you wanted to do.
Well, I didn't really know what that was going to open, what doors that was going to open for me. But you know what? Like, when I work with Mike Will, I work with Pharrell because I love them. Not only do I love them like family, I love their music. So to go and work with the Flaming Lips, if you would ask me in middle school who my favorite band is of all time, I would tell you the Flaming Lips. And I almost felt like I was living that Almost Famous story, like, you know, the kid that gets to go on tour with their favorite band ever.
Yeah.
I felt every day like I was living that Almost Famous lifestyle, because I'm like, how is it that I'm such a fan and now that's like my friend, that's my family? I guess I didn't really realize those doors, because I think people were going to be really attracted to someone like the Flaming Lips. Something was attracted to the freedom was the punk rock and roll, that punk rock came through, and through hip hop music also. Because I think for me, like, my mom always said, she was like, you know, she would sneak out to go see like rock and roll music when she was in high school. And when I was 19, I started sneaking out to go see, whether it was the Srimmerd show or whoever it was. And that was like this rebellious time in my life where I wasn't rebelling against anyone that I had been at that time. And people called it rebelling, but it wasn't rebelling. It was finally having time off, you know? And so I think that's what now I've...
God, that was your time off.
That was my time off.
Bangers World Tour was your time off.
That was my time
crazy
after my...
up Jim Rose Circus
that
was your time off.
after my time off. I think I had to live like that year and a half and be myself for a year and a half till I could even write a song like Bangers, you know? To write a song like Bangers where it's like, you know, as... I'm trying to think of some of the crazy lines, but you know, it's like anything that we're saying with you know, with Britney on the track or whatever it was, like I had to live that life to be able to write those kind of songs, to be able to write, you know, with Future, to be able to write with Luke, and to be able to write these songs, I had to live life, which I hadn't gotten to do. So, I definitely never will complain. I had like the best childhood ever because my parents made sure of that. My parents are the best. You know, my mom is not a momager, stage momager that cares about the wrong thing. She cares about me. She didn't. So she would almost force me to like go have fun sometimes, because she would want me to give myself that break, because if you're exhausted, you're not having fresh ideas. And I think that's what was so dope about Bangers, is Bangers was just fresh.
So did they understand that when other people were looking at Bangers and looking at what you were doing?
They definitely thought I was crazy.
Right, because I wondered, because you know, you took it to the extreme, and that was a big part of the appeal for people, was that you had set fire to the old you in such a dramatic way and moved so far down the road.
Yeah, my mom's like, you're building a what? A tongue slide. I'm like, yeah, I'm building a tongue slide, and I'm gonna ride a giant hot dog over 20,000 people.
Right. Where were you when you had the hot dog idea, by the way?
You know what I was thinking about? I was watching The Truman Show.
Right.
And I was thinking about how my life was like The Truman Show. And so everything that we created, at the end of it, I ride the hot dog through a screen that's got the exit sign, just like at the end of Truman.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I was living on The Truman Show.
So they understood. Your parents were like, and your friends, your closest friends were like, man, this is a reaction. She needs to go to this place.
All of them wanted to go for a hot dog ride.
They all took part in it.
Yes, everyone. It was very scary, actually.
Being on the hot dog?
Yes. Being very high on the hot dog was very terrifying.
You know, drugs played a big part in that time in your life.
Yes, it absolutely did. I'm 6
did.
months sober this week, which is like not fun, but feels pretty good.
Well, congratulations, though. It's
Thanks
a huge moment. You know, and it seemed to be at that moment leading into Dead Pets, like that was all part of the experimentation part of it. When you listen back to those records, and I don't know if you do listen back to those records.
For sure. I love that. That Dead Pets record is probably the proudest of any record I've ever been.
Amazing. So do you hear the drugs on it? Do you hear where you were in your time in your life on that record?
Yes. I mean, I definitely remember too, just like more than anything, I wrote that because my dog had died. And so that's where my truth always is. It's like, I wrote a song called The Dead Pets when I had lost a fish that I loved a lot, and I loved a dog that I lost. And that's what the base of the record was. It was everyone else that makes it about that I'm like, it's so funny, like even for Wayne Coyne, like he's actually the biggest nerd that just wants to make music that doesn't really do drugs. So that's like, everyone's like, he's this, he is naturally that imaginative. Yeah. Like, I just always thought the same thing. I was like, this dude's got to be on acid all the time. And he, like, never was.
He used to be.
Which is very disappointing. He lies.
Really?
He's going to kill me. We can go
Even
on.
at the beginning, you telling me she don't use jelly as bullshit?
It's like, he doesn't even do acid. So it was kind of crazy where it's like, you know, for me, he just really, I don't know if people can imagine being that imaginative without
assuming
it being fake.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
and so it was like, yeah, like, no, my dog died. I'm really that inspired by it, you know, so.
Yeah. So this record, no drugs, 6 months sober. You're clean. You're clear of mind.
I know. I never say forever about anything, but for right now, it feels really good.
And on this record, it sounds like, you know, you've found things you want to say and emotions that perhaps were clouded by drugs and by distractions and by hot dogs.
For me, I'm back in that cycle of I want to work really hard. And I'm just working so hard right now that I need like all the energy, and I need my brain to be fully there to be able to articulate exactly what I want to say about this record and what I want this record to represent.
Which is what?
Well, I'm very involved in like in my pets rule my world. Like I'm a full-time mom to the 7 dogs and the 2 pigs and the cats and the horses. And that's like my priority is my happiness. And that's why I have Happy Hippie, because I wanted to give my life a bigger purpose. I did not want me naked on a wrecking ball engraved on my tombstone and that be all that I'm worth. I want my legacy not to be about the amount of records that I've sold. I first and foremost want to be known as a humanitarian and, you know, an activist, an advocate for the animals. Like, that's what I want to be known as. I want to be known as an activist.
That flows through the record. I mean, in a song like Rainbow Land as well, which really is, you know, that's reaching out to all of us and saying, look, you know, I understand things are tough right now, but it starts inside. And, you know, to reach out to your godmother, to Dolly Parton, to sing on that song. Well, I mean, obviously we'll talk in a minute about the incredible voice notes at the beginning and end, but what was the actual experience of you know, getting the song back?
First, I wrote this song actually about the troops. I wrote this song about, you know, a soldier coming home, and this is before the trans military and everything that happened. I wanted to write this song about, you know, thanking all the people, including the trans military, the LGBT community that's fought for our country, every single person that's ever done that, and coming home back to their family. And I sent it to Dolly, and she said, you know, she was like, instead of this being about a love song, about a reconnection, let's let love build that bridge. Mm-hmm. You know, let's, you know, it says, we are rainbows, me and you, every color, every hue. And it's about if we celebrate every person, for everyone that's so different, if we celebrate them being different instead, a rainbow wouldn't be a rainbow if everyone was the same. Mm-hmm. And so wanting to live in this, like, we're creating this fantasy land, but why can't it be reality? Why can't it be rainbow land? Why can't we all live in this society where everyone that's different is celebrated? And then it says, you know, it's like, wouldn't it be nice to live in a paradise where we're all free to be exactly who we are? Mm. And that's the kind of world that I think, you know, hopefully in my lifetime we'll be living in.
Right now it seems like it's pretty far away, and that's not to sound pessimistic, because I'm with you. I stand with you. I'd like to change things in that direction. I feel like change is coming. I'm not sure if that's the first step.
Everything has to fall to be rebuilt.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
We've got so many old rules and laws, and we're running on such an ancient, you know, system that if we, as, you know, this younger generation, and for the thinkers that are like my parents that grew up thinking very differently than they think now, and accepting that change.
I want to talk about that for a second, because you are someone who is very sensitive, clearly, and is aware of what's going on around you. Mm-hmm. You feel an urge to want to change things about that. You don't get stuck in the shadows on it. You step into the room. You've done so throughout. And right now we live in a very divisive time with a president who doesn't think like you think. And I wondered whether or not you're in a situation with your parents and with your friends and with people who you grew up with who maybe don't think like you do, and what those conversations are like, because you have a strong voice in this.
Well, it's been very just so inspiring for me as a person to watch my parents grow with me. We're from Nashville, Tennessee. We grew up with a different way of thinking. And I think for me, the reason why Happy Hippie has been so wonderful is it's not just about people accepting themselves. It's about people, and this is such a deeper conversation, but just to a little touch on it is, you know, the reason why, you know, over half of the homeless population are LGBT or suicidal, going to sleep hungry every night, is because of that lack of acceptance. And a lot of that comes from their friends, their families, their communities, not expanding their way of thinking and loving their ideology of what sexuality and gender means more than they love the person that is their daughter, their son, their grandchild. Like, well, watching my family learn about like gender fluidity through me, and accepting me and loving me is not what every young person or any person of any age gets to celebrate, that their family accepts them no matter what. And so I'm really inspired and believe that everyone can grow and everyone can change and everyone's brains are allowed to expand. And I think the reason why I say in younger now is change is a thing you can count on. Change is the only thing you know for sure is everything's going to change. And so, you know, I think people should accept and embrace and be stoked and excited about change instead of having this stigma that surrounds it. You know, when someone wants to say something gnarly to you, sometimes they go like, you've changed. I don't know, you're why is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
Like, you've changed should be like, yay, you've changed. You know, and so like that change is an awesome thing. And so I really think when you fall, you get back up and you're stronger because you've learned something. You've got back up. You have that more self-confidence of I can do anything. I can change anything. So I'm definitely not naive in my thinking of where we're at as a country and as a planet, really. But I'm also very optimistic in the fact that there are a lot of people that are like me that won't, you know, like it says in Rainbow Land, I don't think I'll sleep a wink because it's only thought I think I know where I'll stand. You know, there's a lot of people that think like that know where they stand, that aren't going to give up until the dream becomes a reality. My favorite quote from John Lennon, a dream you dream alone is a dream. A dream you dream together is a reality. I love that.
Now you're clean, now you're sober, now you're very clear of mind. What kind of tools do you have to enable you to get through that? It's
about stillness of the mind, being able to still the mind that's overactive and overreactive all the time. So obviously, and if people want a less hippy-dippy remedy, I would say do find someone that you trust, that you can talk to, no matter who that is. And like for me, that's always has been, always will be my dad. And that's not everyone has that. And so I think you know, friends are the family that we choose kind of thing. So whether it's a friend, whether it's someone that you find online, Happy Hippie, we've been able to work with a bunch of different suicide relief programs and, you know, like chat rooms and just being able to bring a community together. And I think for me, it's always been my dad. So I even say that on the song Inspired. It says, you know,
he always says
my
the right
dad,
thing.
Yeah, my dad always has a way of knowing what to say. So when I'm feeling mad, he makes me feel inspired instead.
What was the lowest point for you? When was the point where you felt you most lost up to this point?
You know, I always kind of have believed, you know, like don't get lost, get found. So I feel like there hasn't been this time for me where I've really like lost who I am or felt really hopeless because I just like, I refuse to give up. So there hasn't been a time where I've like given up on myself, you know, like I believe in myself. I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in my work.
And you always have.
Yeah. And that's not to say that some days I don't wake up and I just like, you know, but I never feel like quitting. You know, I may feel like it's really hard, but I may feel like it's really like never going to let up and never get easier. For me, I've been through some things that have hurt a lot and it hurts less and less every single day. And then it's like a good memory of what used to be and you can celebrate what used to be, not what could have been, you know? So I don't feel lost. I feel found.
This record that we're talking about right here is called Younger Now, Miley Cyrus. It's lovely to have time with you to be able to dive into this record. You know, you've kept the personnel small. You've kept the sound and the feel of the record very sort of. I think that there's a lot of space for performance and a lot of space for you to find the core of the song. Some people call that going back to your roots and saying that it's more, I suppose, a record that comes from, you know, your family heritage or whatever. But where does it come from for you? What were you trying to say with the feel of this record?
For me, I mean, right now I am listening to a lot of, you know, Emmylou Harris, or I'm listening to Dolly more than ever, or listening to Johnny Cash, especially Elvis has obviously been a huge influence on the whole visual of the record as well. And so celebrating that kind of like, for me, my favorite era of music is, you know, kind of like 40s, 50s country. I love that kind of like probably more 50s country and then with some 60s, 70s rock and roll. So I feel like it's kind of had this like, it definitely has this country like bluegrass feeling and heart to it, but with the edge and the kind of that feeling of that revolutionary 60s and 70s rock and roll music.
The reason why I brought that up before is because, and this is why Malibu struck me so much. You know, I think Dead Pets is great, and I think it's a really interesting record and some really cool moments on it. But when I heard Malibu, I was like, that's the voice that I remember hearing and watching when you did the barbecue sessions.
Right.
You put them up online.
Right.
And there was a moment, I think, when you were in the middle of all the chaos of bangers, and everyone's like, well, she's smoking loads of weed.
Yeah.
She's touring around the world with a crazy, colorful circus, and it's all getting out of hand, and Robin Thicke, and this, that, and every other fucking thing.
Yeah.
And then you come out there and you just open your mouth, and this voice happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow, that's in the canon. Like
Yeah.
that's just sitting there ready to go.
Which I think what people are liking a lot about this record and do gravitate towards in Malibu. And that's a really huge part of me because like when I'm at home, like I'm never not in like my yoga clothes, playing my guitar by myself, out by the beach with maybe one of my dogs. Like that's my life. And that's who I really am. But also who I really am is like, I love these sunglasses.
I was gonna say you split
like,
down the middle.
So like end of day, like that's me too. I think I know who I am. It's if other people know how to accept that you're allowed to be all those things.
Of course you are, but it's
because like that's not my real life, and this is like the character life that I have. Let me slide down the tongue slide because it's fun and because I like it. I love show business because I grew up when show business was like Dolly Parton to me. Like I love the glamour of show business because she's telling the truth, but how fun is it to wear those outfit? And there's a lot of times where I've gone through, and I might tomorrow, my more kind of androgynous stages where I'm like, I hate these sunglasses, and I might just want to wear something that feels super tomboy. Like I could just hate those tomorrow and just hate them, but I could like them again in like a week, so I never know. I'm like, so I'm a hoarder. I can't get rid of anything because I never know who I'm going to be a week from now. So the person I hated yesterday, I might like really embrace the next day. But it's not as multiple personality disorder as it sounds like. It's like a complete and total freedom. If I don't think, oh, well, what's someone going to think if I'm playing a music with an upright bass, but I'm wearing these shoes?
Yeah, I'd rather that. I'd rather that than you come out looking like a pastiche from the 50s or 60s.
And I'm not trying to fake it. Exactly. And I think for me, like this record isn't throwback of where I am just recreating music that I've loved. I'm allowing the spirit of the music that I've always loved, that's inspired me, to be such a powerful force in this record.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing like a throwback record kind of thing, if you know what I mean. I'm making it my own sound. I'm modernizing that Grand Ole Opry country music style.
When you're writing those songs, if reports are to be believed, you rekindle into a relationship or whatever situation you're in, and you write these songs, is it challenging for you to express yourself in that way, knowing that you live in a world where everyone, and especially now on social media, are going to sit there and they're going to write about it?
Yeah, but it's also about that, like, not to try to, like, dodge this question, because I'll always be straight up with you. I'm happy to say yes. Malibu is about, like, being in love and being free, but finding self-love first, because I don't like that people think a relationship is you're supposed to be
it's just saving
two
salvation,
half people,
right,
and then you
right.
create this little like love heart because you're just two halves, and then you come together and then you're full. I am full. I am me. I am totally 1,000% full. There's someone on the planet that I like a fucking lot, and I love a lot, and like would rather share my time with than anyone else, or talk to more than anyone else. But I'm full. So like younger now is my own self-love of like, I'm happy to be where I'm at. And, for that, like there are songs like I Would Die For You. There are those songs, but there's also songs like Inspired. So for this to always be written up as like, this is my love album, this is I'm the most me for right now that I can be. But Dead Pets was the most me, and The Bangers is the most me, but this is the most me right now.
I think about all the records you've given us and the journey you've been on, and you're only, what, 24?
Yeah, I'm going to be 25 this year.
25?
Yeah.
Have you ever stopped and thought, or do you just keep going forward?
No, I stop and think a lot. I'm actually really stoked. I'm stopping and thinking tomorrow and going back home for a little while and doing no work and hanging with my grandma, who's like as cuckoo as I am. You think I'm cuckoo. She's really cuckoo.
Yeah, what's your grandma like?
It's like me, but like a foot shorter, because time has made her shrink, and she's got very, very white hair. Her hair went all white when she was like in her 30s. Like she had this really cool white stripe, and then she went all white, and she has flaming red eyebrows and lips, and she's always in white short shorts. She's my twin. I'm like, I look forward to, that's part of Younger Now too, embracing instead of being scared of getting older. I'm like, I can't wait till my biggest job like of the day, all she wants to do all day is ride the lawnmower.
Yeah, that's how you get old. Because that's how you're supposed to get old.
So dope. And like, she's been able to experience the vape pen in her life.
Yes.
She had no idea what my dad was always walking around with, and she like couldn't believe the electronic weed pens. So she's gotten to see a lot of cool things happen in her life.
I want to talk about your dad because there's some really lovely reflection on the record about your dad, in particular on that song, the last song on the record, Inspired. And it's funny, because I think that a lot of people look at your family because of the success your dad had early on, then yourself and now Noah, and it does have a classic showbiz family type feel to it. People forget you're a family, and you are. And I wonder what's the best bit of advice your dad has given you throughout your life, or one of?
I have a lot of sayings from my dad, but he always says a trying time is no time to quit trying. And I think that is like the most relevant right now that it's ever been, so when things get hard, that's what it says in the song. In Inspired, it says like, when I'm feeling sad, you make me feel inspired. Don't get down, get inspired about it, So we are a family, and what I have in my life, the thing I'm most proud of is my family, because we have somehow, my parents are super rad. They've kept it together, and they have grown apart and they've grown back together, and they're just that perfect visual of like love is love, and it's not this idea of what relationships, marriage isn't this idea that we have it pictured from movies and from whatever it is. My parents have had a very unique relationship, and it's just so awesome that they're still together.
Yeah, but the challenges of any relationship are the things that make it stronger in the long term.
And I always am like thinking, yeah, the only difference of my parents from me is they've older than me, so they've been through a lot, they've experienced a lot, but they're just humans just like me trying to figure it out.
Right.
This is their first time being parents, just like it will be mine, and you'll mess up and all these things. And like, we put so much pressure on our parents to be perfect when they're just like us and they're just figuring it all out. There's just such a good example of how that you're supposed to be, and there's never been this like resentment, or it was never like they just stayed amazing people the whole time. Had a lot of respect for each other and a lot of class. It was very cool.
What's your most clearest memory? Because the album opens with the creek, with the sound of the creek,
which is my real backyard. That's my backyard in Malibu.
Amazing. So we know that you're drawing us into a place where you are taking us on a very personal journey of reflection and hopes and dreams and what you want for the world and for yourself, and also where you've come from. What is your clearest childhood memory?
Probably the times that I got to spend with my granddad, who was my dad's dad. He was a Democratic legislator. He was a man of the people. He's the one that taught us to, probably him, because I love animals. There's a very special day so in Nashville, there's a thing called a mule day, where you just go and like play with donkeys all day. And that was my favorite childhood memory, of playing with the donkeys. And he got me a donkey who's still alive named Eeyore.
Right.
And he lied to me and said he was half zebra, because he had this really cool mohawk that was all different colors. Not until like last year did I realize that this donkey wasn't half zebra. But probably getting my donkey zebra. Yeah, and him building me a swing, and just spending time with him, because he was very cool, and he was
a huge inspiration for you.
Huge inspiration, very political. So I think that's where I got my political side.
Yeah. Aside from all of the important things that you do, you're still someone that's of real fascination to people, and I think that a lot of attention in this day and age can really be thrown at people of fascination, and you seem to be in a place of really being able to skillfully avoid right now, which is, I'm sure, very peaceful for you.
Yeah.
But you haven't always been in the past. You take those shots hard when you're on the receiving end of your peers or other people who are firing things at you, and you know that you're a headline?
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm like, this is just, like I said, of like not having me, on a wrecking ball on my tombstone. Like, this isn't what makes me. I'm so complete without any of this. I am so much more complete than these headlines, than these records, and these number ones, and these whatever. It's like, I love my life. And like, the fact that I'm just this is like, I've clearly smoked some weed in my day. The fact that I get to be like a human being, and my heart just like beats without me telling it to, and we're just sitting here speaking and communicating, and I'm creating like a human relationship and a bond. I'm so stoked for that like, write whatever the f- you want. I'm so happy just to be on this planet and be able to be in the position I'm in. Like, these things are just so mindless and below my ultimate goal.
Which is what?
To make the world better, to make the real change, to make Happy Hippie what we stand for a reality, which is for the world to not be the way that it is right now. And I think we're on the right path. I think a lot of us are really trying so hard, but anytime you think you're doing enough, know that you can do more. Like, I always put on my Instagram, my sign off is love, love, and more love. It's never enough. It's never too much. It will never be enough. Like, love more. Even when you think you're at the ceiling, you never will be. Like, bust. It says that in Bad Mood. What Hillary Clinton told us, all of us girls, it touched me so much, saying the glass ceiling's got to break, and that girl that's going to break that glass ceiling is watching her speak right now, so the glass ceiling's got to break. It says, I don't know how much more it can take. And then part of the bridge says, it's gone on way too long, which it has. I think this like old world is done. It's time for the way that it's supposed to be.
Touring, when does the tour start?
Obviously, when I tour, I like to do it right.
You like to do it up.
I like to do it up. But also, that's not really what this record calls for necessarily. So I think I got to take a break for a second to imagine and dream.
It does, though. It does.
It's very visual. So, of course, I'm like, how do I get these visuals?
And also, why can't you be the artist that comes through and takes something that feels organic and feels real and feels personal and doesn't feel like the modern, the way that the modern's being represented now? Like,
I think I just have to be able to get imaginative again, because I think my imagination has... I'm definitely like, I've always got more and more, but I gotta refuel. I gotta refill myself. I gotta be like, I gotta fill my brain back up with all the ideas. And right now I've used so many of these ideas all year, and I'm now like out here and just like really putting myself out there, like just putting my heart and everything that I feel like out on the line, just saying it, just constant letting people in, that I think before I could go and just have people like want from me more, I got to get back to myself for a second.
Yeah. You're in the art of saying no. This is the era of no.
Yes. You actually have no idea. My friend's laughing because no, I've learned, I always just now say no.
This is the era of no.
No, it is the era of no.
That's very, let me tell you, I've interviewed many, many artists over the course of my life. And I've been lucky enough, and you talked about forming, relationships, to have extended relationships with people that have gone to become friendships. Yeah. And I've watched them get into the era of no. Yeah. That is a very valuable era.
It's the best ever, because I have to refill. I have to be full again before, otherwise the fans and the audience, they're the best. They almost refill you in this way too, because like all that love for loving what you made is awesome. But it's also, they take a lot, because I've got to perform, I got to give. And I've given so much of just letting people in that I got to give back to me for a second. So yes, I've learned the art of saying no.
Well, I'm glad you said yes today. Thanks for your time.
Yes, thank you.